Hi, and welcome to Transgender Thoughts. So, while you're watching this, I'm at a wedding. Actually, it's the wedding of one of my best friends and someone I really, really love and really care about. But it opened up a train of thought for me, which is weddings and being trans, in my experience, has been fairly stressful. Uh, One of my little sisters, hey Nades, got married a few years ago. That wedding was fine. I mean, it was full of queer people. It was full of historical reenactors and just generally crazy ass people. So, fitted in perfectly. But I have been uninvited to weddings because of being trans, and I've been excluded from weddings because of being trans. And I have to admit, I am a little nervous about the wedding tomorrow, not because of whose wedding it is, but the whole question mark you always have of it's in a hotel, which means the wedding party aren't the only people going to be there. I have no qualms about the wedding party. What worries me are the other people in the hotel and whether they are going to open up a can of shit the size of the Titanic. Now, admittedly, at this point in my transition, it's fairly unlikely, but it doesn't mean that the fear goes away. It doesn't. It never goes away. You're always aware in the back of your mind that shit happens. There's always that one asshole who decides to make an issue. And it's a worry that is always in my mind when I'm out in public at all. Admittedly, I am going to be wearing a fucking awesome suit for this wedding tomorrow. It's a very steampunky suit, but so I'm going to be drawing some attention to myself with that. But the other side of it is, do you let that fear and that worry override who and what you are? That's the tough one. Because if you leave it to override who you are, you might as well have not bothered transitioning. Winter has decided she wants to go into the living room. Anyway, as I was saying, if they override, if you leave other people's, the potential for other people causing you hassle override who you are, why did you bother transitioning? You transitioned to be you. Which was a realization that took me a while to come to, because when I transitioned, you were still very much railroaded by gatekeeping health service. Essentially, the gender therapist expected you to look a certain way because you're a girl. The gender therapist we had at that point in Ireland was an asshole who refused to take a medical card, which is our form of social medical insurance, and he refused to accept that. So I know trans women that didn't eat for 3 or 4 days so they could afford to go to him. Seriously? But that form of gatekeeping, it's a big problem. It's a really big problem. And thankfully, it seems to be dissipating and going into the past as time goes by. Although it hasn't entirely, and it will be probably a generation before it goes completely and people are just allowed to transition because I'm trans. You self-diagnose anyway. This is all coming around back to the wedding. Trust me. So, for the longest time, I was a femi-fufu. Nothing wrong with being a femi-fufu. I know many femi-fufus and I think they're adorable and wonderful and lovely. But I'm not a femi-fufu. At best, I'm a tomboy. At worst, I'm a soft butch dyke. And I didn't transition to be a femi-fufu. I transitioned to be a gothy tomboy. But when not just society, but the medical society expects you to look a certain way, you're driven to do that. And it becomes a habit. And it can be quite easy for people to manipulate that and, or not even manipulate it, but cash in on it and push you back into another closet. Because at the end of the day, if you transition, but you didn't transition to you, to the real inner you, you've moved from one closet to another. It may be a nicer closet, but it's still a closet. And finally, this comes back to weddings in general, because at a wedding there is an expectation that you'll show up in a beautiful dress and you will look wonderful and you will not in any way stand out from the crowd. Or at least that's been my experience of weddings. And fuck that noise. Seriously. Would I show up in a white dress? No, hell no. You're not going to do that to a bride. Am I going to show up as me? Fuck yeah. Even if it causes problems. Even if it causes problems for me outside of the wedding party. Which is a possibility. But when you stop and think about it, if you're trans and you travel by bus, you're opening yourself up to trouble. If you travel by train, you're opening yourself up to trouble. Walking down the street can open you up to trouble. So it's not as if it's anything new. What makes it new and more pertinent at the time is how rarely you go to weddings. I mean, most of my friends are at the age for getting married. Most of them haven't. But even so, even with most of my friends being at that age, I've been to 2 weddings in 8 years. I was invited to 2 more, but my health stopped me. Stone dead. And admittedly, both of those weddings I wouldn't have been worried about in the least. Because if anybody had looked at me sideways, the brides would have gutted them. Hi, Claire. Hi, Crafty Bear. Anyway, as I said, while you're watching this, I'm not actually at the wedding. I'm getting ready to go to the wedding in a hotel room, which I'm looking forward to because infinite hot water. I'm basically going to stay in a bath for Sunday night. Because I like baths and I like infinite hot water. And I'm going to be a prune when I come out of it, and it's going to be awesome. But yeah. Anyway, I hope that made some sense to somebody. It's basically a stream of consciousness of what's been going through my mind the last 24 hours. I'm sure by the time I get back, I'll be reporting, yay, wedding was fucking awesome. And it will be, because my bestie is there, 2 of my best friends, a little sister. There's going to be so many people I know at this wedding, and it's going to be awesome. I mean, it is going to be so much fun. And now the dogs are getting pissy. See? Lulu. So, yeah, going to call it a day there. I'll be back again next Sunday with something new. Don't know what yet. I think it could be an anti-A story time, because I have several written. And they're pretty vicious. But in the meantime, have a great weekend. Be good. And bye for now.